In Unit 2, Section 5, we are talking about distributive property. We're going to focus on this property more than the others just because it's going to have big influences on the rest of this year and moving forward in math. So let's look at how to use the distributive property to evaluate an expression. So as you can see, we have a number and then parentheses and then addition inside the parentheses. In order for you to know that you're doing the distributive property, you have to have a number times a quantity inside parentheses. So it could be addition or subtraction inside the parentheses, but notice the numbers directly in front of them. If we had a problem that looked like 15 plus 7 plus 20, we would not be using the distributive property. We would just be using the associative property of addition then. So to do the distributive property, we're going to distribute this number in front to the two numbers that are inside. So we'll do 15 times 7 plus 15 times 20. We're distributing it to both numbers inside the parentheses. 15 times 7 is 105. 15 times 20 is 300. When you add those together, you get 405. Okay. Now, you could absolutely solve that problem just doing order of operations. You could do 7 plus 20 and then multiply by 15, but we're just focused on working on the distributive property right now. Okay. For our next example, it's a little bit different because if you see the number is to the right of the parentheses, but the fact that there's parentheses around the -8 tells us that we're using the distributive property and we're not just subtracting 8. So we're going to distribute -8 to both of those. So I'll have -8 times 4. We have a subtraction sign from inside the parentheses, a minus, and then -8 times 6. So we're distributing the negative to both of those numbers. -8 times 4 is -32, minus -8 times 6 is -48. So if you notice, I'm subtracting a negative, which means I'm really adding a positive. So I have -32 plus 48, which is positive 16. All right, looking down at number 3. So I'm distributing -5 to 24 and to 17. So I have -5 times 24. I have the subtraction sign from inside the parentheses minus -5 times 17. -5 times 24 is -120 minus -5 times 17 is -85. And then again, like the problem before, I'm subtracting a negative, which is the same thing as adding a positive. So -120 plus 85 is -35. Right? If you're not sure about how to do that addition right there, make sure you ask me and I can review that with you from previous sections. All right, I'm going to leave number 4 for you guys to try. Again, if you have any trouble, feel free to ask your teacher. We can also use the distributive property to write equivalent variable expressions. Equivalent just means the same thing. So we're going to use the distributive property to write an equivalent variable expression, which is when you'll more often see the distributive property than just with numbers. So we have 11 times the quantity s plus 9. We're going to distribute 11 to the s and to the 9. So we have 11 times s plus 11 times 9. 11 times s is just 11s. We just write those next to each other. 11 times 9 is 99. And that's an equivalent expression. That's equivalent to our original expression. All right, for number 2, we are going to distribute the -13 to 20 and to a. So we'll have -13 times 20, the subtraction sign from inside the parentheses, and then we'll have -13 times a. So -13 times 20 is -260, minus -13 times a is -13a. We have minus a negative, so we can add, or we're adding a positive, so we'd write it -260 plus 13a, and that would be our final answer. You could also write that 13a minus 260, and it would be the exact same thing. Either way works. All right, I'm going to erase those just to give myself some more room. And then we can look at number 3. So we're going to distribute the negative 8 to the 12 and to the b. So we have negative 8 times 12, the subtraction from inside the parentheses, and then we have negative 8 times b. So negative 8 times 12 is negative 96, minus negative 8 times b is negative 8b, and then subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So we'll have negative 96 plus 8b. Again, if we want to, we can write that 8b minus 96. It'll be the exact same thing. These are the same answer. All right, I'm going to leave number 4 for you guys to try on your own. Looking at the bottom of this first page, it says we are going to find areas of geometric figures. So it says find the area of the rectangle or triangle. To find the area of a rectangle, you've probably seen this before, the area equals the length times the width. So here I have a length of 4 and a width of x minus 6. So that's 4 times the quantity x minus 6. So I'm set up to do the distributive property. So my area will be 4x minus 24. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 6 is 24, and I have subtraction in between them. Now, when I do find the area, I have to have units, and we said before that we have to have units squared or square units. Since I don't actually have units there, I will just use the word units. So I have 4x minus 24 square units. On the back side, we have a triangle. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So we'll write 1/2. Our base in this case is x plus 3, and our height is 12. Now, if you remember the commutative property of multiplication, that means we can move these things around and multiply them in whatever order we want. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 12 first, which is going to give me 6. So then I can do distributive property with the 6 instead of the half. So my area will be 6x, which is just 6 times x. And then 6 times 3 is 18. I have addition in between them. So 6x plus 18, and again, we need to have square units. All right, the last thing in this section is some review problems. So practice with adding and subtracting integers. If you have any trouble at all, please make sure you ask questions. If you have questions on any of these, ask your teacher so we can help you. And then the bottom is just a review of the different properties that we went over earlier in Unit 2. All right, guys, that's it for the Unit 2 Section 5 video.